was the summer of 1991. A recent graduate of the Catholic School of Theology at Emory University, I was newly employed as a chaplain intern for a tri-hospital system. One night, while fulfilling my responsibilities as a chaplain intern, I was summoned by the nursing manager of the internal medicine unit to be at the side of a woman, an elderly woman who was approaching death. The death was imminent and her husband was hysterical. However, when I walked into the room, something grabbed my attention. Something pushed me out of the room and immobilized me, stopped me dead in my tracks. For as I walked into the room, her husband yelled at me in the most derogatory manner, with the most hateful words, and excuse my use of this term. "Who sent for the nigger?" Let me pause here to say that I am a diversity educator. And a storyteller. I'd like to share a few short stories that sort of speak to my premise. The prophecy is being fulfilled. The lines are moving. The hues are darkening. But the general American populace is not ready to deal with the reality of diversity. The Census Bureau began predicting about 30 years ago the rapid growth of diversity in America. It predicted that eventually minorities would comprise the majority. Regardless of your political affiliation or your party alignment, we must all agree that the last presidential election, in fact the last two elections, were decided by the minority vote. The winning candidate captured 93% of the African American vote, 71% of the Hispanic vote, 73% of the Asian vote, 55% of the general female vote, and the overwhelming majority of college-age students in America. The prophecy is being fulfilled. Amen. The lines are moving. The shades, the hues are darkening, but the American populace is not ready to deal with that reality. When I was a student at Emory University and at Winthrop University, at any given point in time that there was a party happening in the student center, if I stood outside of the doors by virtue of the genre of music coming through the door, I knew who was having a party. If it was R&B, I knew it was the black students jamming behind the doors. If it was country western or alternative music or heavy rock, all of a sudden I knew that there were white students behind the door. Guess what? If I go to the University of South Carolina now and stand outside of the doors, I can't tell who's partying behind the door. The students listen to heavy metal and rock and R&B and gospel and classical. Lo and behold, they even listen to country western. It's amazing to see that country western now has a little bit of soul to it. Folks are not only singing about their dogs and their red pickup truck. Someone has taught them how to slur a little bit and improvise and do some crooning. The lines are getting closer. I need to tell you that I grew up poor, P-O. I'll tell you how poor we were. We couldn't afford the other letters in that word. In fact, my brother said we were not poor, he said we were. As a result, both of my parents worked outside of the home. And lo and behold, after coming home from work, we would all go out into the fields, my 8 brothers and I and my sister, my 2 parents, in order to make things ends meet. They had to work outside of the home, both of them, and lo and behold, we all worked in the field to augment our income and to feed our family. And after we came in from the fields, lo and behold, my mother would begin cooking dinner, and she would bring dinner to my father in his favorite chair, watching television, and he had his remote control in his hand. Oh wait, he didn't have remote controls back then. His remote control is called Dreams of California. And lo and behold, then, after he got through eating, she would take his plate and take it to the kitchen. She would make sure that dinner was cooked, the children had done their homework. She would make sure that the chores were done. She would make sure we got our baths and went to bed. And at 10:30, 11 o'clock, lo and behold, she would then get to sleep. And the next morning, she would get up at 5:30 in the morning and make homemade biscuits for my daddy. I got married. I was waiting for my biscuits. Guess what? I'm still waiting. The lines have moved. The prophecy is being fulfilled. But the general American populace is not ready to deal with that reality. Lo and behold, I need to share with you also that in America, that there was a time when we would relegate the first woman, the first lady of America, into a gender role. She would do something symbolic. After all, the heavy work for the country was done by the male president. But isn't it good to know that young girls can not only dream of being the president's wife, but they can be a viable candidate for the presidency of the United States of America? The lines have moved. Let me share with you a little bit about the challenge as I bring this to close. This is the challenge. The prophecy is being fulfilled. The lines have moved. The hues are darkening, but the general populace is not ready to deal with that reality. In these United States of America, regardless of whether or not you agree with same-sex marriages, that in these United States of America, at this progressive hour, that persons who make alternative decisions about their sexuality still have to worry about hate crimes and being the victims of violence. That in these United States of America, that when an African American is elected president for the second time, in these United States of America, there are states who talk about seceding from the Union. The lines have moved. The prophecy is being fulfilled. But the populace is not ready. Two things to help you get ready. Number one, to realize that when it comes to identity, it's very complex. At any given moment, you can't put me into one box. For I am male, privilege. I am African American, some underprivileged. I am Christian, privilege. I am Southerner, in this context, privileged. One of my favorite things to do is to go to the Waffle House on weekends and have breakfast late at night. Oh! Yes. I recall that on one occasion, I had placed an elderly gentleman in my stereotypical box. I had pigeonholed him, I had typecast him, and because of his age and his race, I made some erroneous assumptions. I assumed I knew who he was until something happened. This elderly gentleman was white. I discovered his grandchild walked out of the restroom, his mixed race grandchild. And lo and behold, he lovingly put the napkin around the child's neck, lovingly fed the child his meal. And all of a sudden I realized that I had typecast him. And then we had a conversation with our eyes. He looked at me and said with his eyes, "Don't you dare discriminate against my mixed race child." It's very complex. Last but not least, you cannot really be a successful person in our society, an increasingly diverse society, by looking at somebody else, by understanding their culture, their religion, their food, and their dress. You must begin with yourself. I realize that I see race, I see gender, and to ignore the fact that we make subconscious judgments about others when they walk in the room is a false assumption. There's no way you couldn't see I'm a tall, good-looking black man when I walk in the room. And so finally, the lines have moved. The prophecy is being fulfilled. The hues are darkening. But the general American populace is not ready to deal with the reality. Thank you.